Welcome to the Liberation.Tech podcast, brought to you by Jordan Nuance LLC and hosted by Dr. Renée Jordan. This podcast is a accumulation of Dr. Jordan's dissertation work and her passion for empowering Latinas, Afro-Latinas, Black women, and girls to navigate the academic and professional worlds with confidence and success. Whether you're a mother or a guardian guiding a child through grades 6 through 12, an undergrad or grad student, someone working on a dissertation or thesis, or simply looking to carve out your niche in the career landscape, this podcast is for you. Each episode, Dr. Jordan shares her story, offers invaluable advice, and provides practical coaching to help you thrive in school, work, and beyond. Join our community on patreon.com/BlackLiberationTech and become a member for as low as $5 per month. As a member, you'll gain exclusive access to live recordings, impromptu academic and career coaching, and a network of like-minded individuals committed to mutual support and success. You're also welcome to follow Black Liberation Tech on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Visit black-liberation.tech for even more information on Dr. Jordan's adventure in Inglés o Español. Tune in, get inspired, and let's embark on this journey together. Welcome to black-liberation.tech, where your success story begins. When you're choosing a committee, make sure that they align with your research goals. Make sure that they have the expertise needed to say, yes, Renée has got this. She is hitting all the points. She is demonstrating that she is an expert as it relates to doing the work of research. Make sure that they're able to give you the level of support that you need. Consider faculty members that bring different perspectives. So like I said, I had my advisor from my department who was also the department chair. So he signed off on my documents twice, once as my advisor and once as the department chair. So that helped me with getting my things signed off on. My co-chair was my qualitative research professor who saw my work ahead of time. And that was one of her requirements. You had to have taken a class with her, and she needed to see that you were a serious student and a scholar with integrity. And she needed to see that because she gave a lot of feedback. Everyone is not going to give you the same level of feedback before you submit your proposal and before you submit your dissertation, because technically they have whatever amount of time that the school has identified. In my case, it was 2 or 3 weeks that they had to review my work. So technically, they really didn't have to review my work until I submitted it for that review time before the prospectus defense and before the dissertation defense. But she was kind enough to actually read pages of my work at a time and provide me with direct feedback so that I could make adjustments before I submitted my proposal and my dissertation. With my advisor and my outside committee member, they were kind enough to allow me to do 10 slide at a time presentations to go over what I was doing. And in those 10 slides, I had diagrams that essentially showed my thought process. They were visual depictions of my work that allowed me to talk to them about what I was doing and my plans. And then they were able to provide me feedback based on that. Those same presentations and slides I also provided to my co-chair, my research methodologist. And then my other committee member who had expertise of his own that he brought, he decided that he would wait until it was cleared by my dissertation co-chairs for submission before he would review it. So he reviewed it during the 2 to 3 week time period. And all of those were beneficial to me because I was able to walk away with feedback that allowed me to make great strides in my work. And I will never forget, it was the day before my dissertation defense, and I got final comments back from my co-chair / research methodologist. and she said, Renee, I could tell you worked really hard on this, but what does this mean as an instructional designer? Referring to my discussion. What does this mean to someone who's an educator? How will they take what you've done and apply it to the design of an informal after-school program? And as a result, I was able to change a few words on a slide that allowed my brain to translate what I was talking about in the theoretical sense to practical application. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a moment to show you those few changes. It was like after I made that change, I was able to make subsequent changes so that I was able to articulate exactly what my work meant for instructional designers as well as educators. All right, so what I'm going to do a comparison. I'm going to show you what I had on my slide as of April 10th, 2022. So here you can see I have contributors' recommendations, and just take a look at this legend, if you will, down at the bottom. So down at the bottom, I have Ubuntu/Ubuntu, well-being, and who counts as human. I have bueno, what type of learning leads to becoming humane. And so you can see that I have it color coded. And so in terms of well-being, I'm just going to quickly go through this for those who are just listening and they're not actually watching. I have well-being, acquire more space for program, acquiring more money for programs, give them computers and smartphones, develop content and resources in Spanish and other languages, either translate or provide translators. So I attributed those to well-being. Who counts as human? I said students' voices in every aspect of decision making, giving them a chance to also help you outline the curriculum. Do not be dismissive of people. Do not count them out. Understand who your audience is and how they relate to information best. You don't need to go from A to B to C to D in order to learn technology. And then market segmentation. So that is what I attributed to who counts as human. Now, this next section, bueno, what type of learning leads to becoming humane? I said workshops that use design thinking, develop critical thinking, use the technology as a tool to refine or to finish, but not as a tool to understand problems. Expose girls and women to coding and building hardware and software. And then to duplicate efforts, if you will, I also attributed understanding who your audience is and how they relate to information best, as well as you don't need to go from A to B to C to D in order to learn technology. I attributed those as well to bueno, what type of learning leads to becoming humane. Okay, so that was what I provided my research methodologist with. Now, revisit her comment in terms of, Renee, what does this mean for an instructional designer or an educator who is designing an informal after-school program? So, based on her feedback, the light bulb went off. Those 3 items on the bottom of that slide changed. And I changed it to implementation needs, women and girls as co-constructors, and then design and skill considerations. And so now the implementation needs as it relates to instructional designers and educators, they need to acquire more space for programs. They need to acquire more money for programs. They need to give them computers and smartphones. They need to develop content and resources in Spanish and other languages. They also need to either translate or provide translators. So those are implementation needs. Women and girls as co-constructors. This is what instructional designers and educators need to consider as it relates to women and girls as co-constructors. Students' voices in every aspect of decision making. They need to be incorporated. Give them a chance to also help you outline the curriculum. Do not be dismissive of people. Do not count them out. Understand who your audience is and how they relate to information best. You do not need to go from A to B to C to D in order to learn technology. And then market segmentation in terms of recruitment, knowing who your market is composed of. And then the third point, design and skill considerations. These are things that instructional designers and educators need to consider when they're designing informal learning opportunities. They need to use the technology as a tool to refine or to finish, but not as a tool to understand problems. They need to expose girls and women to coding and building hardware and software. They need workshops that use design thinking, and they also need to develop critical thinking. Now, the other two aspects that doubled over before, they still double over again as it relates to design and skill considerations. Understand who your audience is and how they relate to information best. You do not need to go from A to B to C to D in order to learn technology. And so I shared that comparison between those two slides to hopefully hit on the point or the notion that you need to be flexible when you're doing the work of research. Take in the feedback that your committee members are giving to you and think about what you need to do in order to make your work crystal clear so there's an educative aspect to your dissertation. By the time someone reads your dissertation, they should walk away like it was a lesson from you. They should now understand, oh, as a result of Renée doing her dissertation, she learned information from Latinas, Afro-Latinas, and Black women in tech, how they learn technology and demonstrated their digital literacy so that she can then inform others, herself and others, instructional designers and educators, on things that should be considered when they are designing informal after-school programs. Thank you for tuning in to the BlackLiberation.Tech podcast, brought to you by Jordan Nuance LLC and hosted by Dr. Renée Jordan. We hope today's episode has inspired you and provided valuable insights to help you navigate your academic and professional journey with confidence and success. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, as well as rate and review the podcast to help it become more discoverable. Whether you're guiding a child through grades 6 through 12, tackling undergraduate or graduate studies, working on a dissertation or thesis, or exploring your career options, this podcast is here to support you every step of the way. Join our community on patreon.com/blackliberationtech and become a member for as low as $5 per month. As a member, you'll enjoy exclusive access to live recordings, impromptu academic and career coaching, and a network of like-minded individuals committed to mutual support and success. Don't forget to follow Black Liberation Tech on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Visit black-liberation.tech for even more information on Dr. Jordan's adventures, available in both English and Spanish. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep moving forward. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.